Carly Madsen, Casey Lyons and Sam Webb from the LIVIN organisation, also the LIVIN charity. Today's conversation is an open and frank conversation around mental health, but really in the field of suicide and suicide prevention. So welcome, guys. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
So firstly, I want to say that I'm sorry that what's brought us here today is through the tragic circumstances around your friend, which what we'll do is we'll put some links up on the screen so that people can see the other interview that you've done with one of your friends around how the LIVIN organisation was actually brought to the forefront. But I'm really also pleased that one day you were a salesperson, the next day and you were a chippy, and the next day you're running an organisation around mental health and suicide prevention. Sam, I might start with you. How did all this come about in maybe a brief 30 seconds?
Yeah, LIVIN started in 2013 after Casey and I lost a very good friend, Casey's best friend, Dwayne Lally, to a mental illness. We really had no choice but from that night onwards to do something to make a change.
It's interesting you say that we had no choice. Most people would just say, I've lost a really good friend, and they get up the next morning, they mourn, they're in a grief process, and they get on with their job or they get on with their life. Casey, for yourself, what was the driving force that really said, that you and Sam to get together and say, we got to make this change. We're going to do something about this.
Well, Dwayne wasn't really a normal person. He was an out there character, but he cared about everyone. He had a lot of empathy, and he would always put others first. And Dwayne suffered from depression, bipolar, for over 6 years, and his hardest part of that was the stigma. It kept him quiet, and we needed to do something to bring hope to the people that are suffering, and to let them know it's okay not to be okay, but you've got to do something about it and get the help that is out there.
Because that's what I love about this is do you think we're hiding a lot of this around what suicide is, and and rather than bringing it out and having a chat like we are here and putting to bed the stigma around this illness, your goal really is to what? What's your overall goal?
In a nutshell, I guess, we want to change the way society understands, interprets and sort of perceives mental illness in a new light. It's a dark, touchy subject as it is, and for too long it's been put under the mat like it's not really important. But it's extremely important, and we're just trying to change the dynamics and what people view it. It's
interesting when Carly and I were driving up here, preparing ourselves for this interview here, I said to Carly, I'm going to put a huge disclaimer out here, or a caveat around the discussion that we're going to have, is that I'm not familiar with this topic at all. Like, when I say that, I mean I don't have a friend or a family member who has ever taken their life in a horrible way that you guys have experienced. So I don't know of anyone. I've never been involved with anyone. I know of people who have told me about their friends or their family members that have taken their life. So when you say that we want to make a change in every person's life, to be able to say that it's okay to speak up, is that what the message is?
Definitely.
Yeah.
We fluked that. It was a conversation between a friend, and he sort of openly said it. You need to teach people that ain't like to speak, and we went with that. We truly believe that as long as you're talking, you're living. A problem shared is a problem halved. There is help out there, but you got to be talking. People can't, or people won't know what you're going through until you tell them.
And this is the difficult part. You say that there is help out there. I'm thinking about the people that may be watching this right now, and they're going, there are the Kids Helpline, there is the Beyond Blue, there's marvellous organisations out there. But you mentioned something earlier on, just in our discussion. You said that there are sometimes people that just don't want to go to a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Do you agree with that? They just don't want to go...
don't feel that they can open up to someone that they don't know, or that they don't feel actually cares about what they're going through, kind of thing.
Well, why is that though? Why don't they feel like if there's a psychologist out there who's trained in mental illness, mental health, why wouldn't they sometimes feel comfortable going there?
Yeah, it's part of the connection, I guess, with what we're trying to do in particular. The connection and bringing the community together is a big part of people sharing their stories and seeking help, not on a professional level, but they're feeling grieving and that they're feeling like they're benefiting from talking to individuals like us. Casey and I aren't psychologists by any means, but a lot of people have that connection with certain individuals, and they just feel that resonance. And they just have that relationship, so they can confide in people they trust.
I think that comes back to stigma too. You know, in movies or everything in society growing up, you know, talking to a psych is seen as you're a weirdo, you're an outcast, but it's completely different. It's like, you know, you got the flu, you go see the doctor about your flu. You get depression, you go see the doctor, you go see the psychologist. It's their job to help you.
And I mean, I think you guys have said to me before, you know, if you've got a broken arm or something, no one looks at that badly if you go to the doctor and say, you know, I've got a problem, can you help me fix it? But when it's mental, I mean, your brain is the most powerful thing in your body. But if you go to the doctor and say, you know, something's going on, people see that as something bad when it shouldn't be.
It's because we can't see it. Broken arm, you can see the effects of it. When someone's got a mental health problem, they can't physically see it. So they don't believe it's
not
real.
like you get a brain scan, you put it up on a screen like a CT and say this part's brown and this part's green. You know, it's healthy and not healthy. It's not like that in the perfect world. You know, it could be, but you know, it's something that you just can't see.
There are some amazing statistics out there, and just by doing a quick Google search here in Australia, there's something like 6.9 people per day that are taking their lives through suicide. But you mentioned something else that I found fascinating about an extra added statistic on top of that. So we're talking 50 people a week that are, ending their life.
I've spoken to some coroners, and they've sort of led me to believe that there's certain deaths that they will write off as, say, when someone jumps into a dam with bricks tied to their feet, they'll call that as drowning. They do this to sort of help the families because there is such a stigma with suicide. It's a blatant case of suicide, but they'll write it off as drowning just to sort of help that family through their grieving process. And they said, so there's around 2,500 deaths a year by suicide. This could be up around 8,000 if numbers were reported correctly.
I'm amazed when I keep hearing statistics like that, and even just sitting down having this conversation. What's going on? What's going on out there that we're getting 2,000 people that are contemplating, talking about wanting to end their lives? What's
like
happening?
10% of the population.
What's happening?
I think it's a mixture of, we can't put it down to one single thing. As we said before, there's not one single topic or one single factor that's switching people to take their life or to be in this situation. It's a multiple factor, and stigma is a massive part of it because people aren't getting the help that they need, and it could be bullying, things from social media, as we discussed earlier. It could be drugs, homelessness.
So you think social media has like 30 years ago, 40 years ago, we'll talk my era, is that I had a blue with somebody at the at school. He may have been bullying me. It ends up on the bus, ends up behind the school shed, and it kind of like finishes there. But you're saying now social media plays a huge part? I mean, have you been exposed to any of that?
Definitely. So, as you said, it'd finish sort of, and you got off that school bus, and then you'd go home to your sanctuary, your house. Now, you'll be in your sanctuary, which is apparently your safe place, but you're still getting bullied by these people who are sitting behind their computer, behind their phone. They're bullying you when you're in your room, and your mum and dad are out there, and they have no idea. They can't help you because they can't see it, and you keep it quiet. And social media, another one. We as humans strive for greatness, and it's a great quality that's ingrained in us. But we put such an emphasis on greatness, and we strive for it when we don't meet these expectations we place upon ourselves. It has a devastating effect.
Yeah, definitely. Social media definitely plays a role in this, but again, it's not one single role that we can look down and say this is the key driving force to why people are in the situation. There's numerous reasons.
One of the factors.
And if I look at a real good balance of what makes a great life is that and I'm just talking off the top of my head here. I'd be thinking you've got a great relationship happening, you've got a good career, you've got great finances that are happening, you're healthy. You've got a supportive family unit. So we can say that a number of those things might be a contributing factor to a person feeling like that they're overwhelmed with what's happening in life. But do you think we've lost the ability to cope?
Definitely. Life moves at such a frantic pace, and a 5-year-old isn't a 5-year-old anymore. They've got the power to be a 10-year-old through the power of these smartphones and the internet. So I think we're skipping a lot of our younger years where we learn these coping strategies and basic life skills, and we're skipping from A to B or A to Z and missing everything in between on how to sort of grow up and live your life. And that's where we sort of need to, you know, start learning coping strategies.
Yeah, it definitely is an interesting question. I guess it comes back to our goals from LIVIN perspective to get into schools and do education, you know, programs and stuff like that to try and empower young kids. Because life is, you know, we live in a fast place, and, you know, coping is one of the biggest things to, you're really on your own.
So the old adage about, you know, you get up, brush yourself off and just get on with life doesn't sort of like work anymore, does it? But I've never been in depression or depressed. So this is really foreign to me. And I don't want to seem like the arrogant person, the old guy out here that says, oh, it's all right for you, you've gone through your life, you know, you're 50-something now. So what do you say to a person who's saying, you know, what's happening in your brain that's making you always wanting to think that we've got these thoughts? I mean, I know I want to ask you, have you had suicidal thoughts?
No, I haven't personally. I mean, I'm 20, so I've got a lot more of my life to go. But I think I'm the same as you.
But suicide doesn't discriminate, does it?
Yeah.
It doesn't discriminate. It's race, colour, creed, and age group. So
but I mean, like, I may have depression in the future. It's something I can't tell. But I'm the same as you. I've been in a depressed state, and I've had times in my life where things have not been the way that I've been wanting them to go. But I mean, I wouldn't say that I've had depression, but I've known people with depression, and I've seen how it can affect people firsthand. But yeah, not personally myself. I mean,
yeah, definitely. For me personally, you know, I've struggled quite bad, you know, for close to 10 years now with a bit of anxiety, mild depression. You know, and from an outsider looking in, it all looks really good. Life could be good. You could have the good job. You could have the good family life. You know, you got money in the bank. You're healthy. You live a good life, and it looks good. But for someone that's actually in that situation, things are exemplified. They're bigger. Problems don't become small problems. They're actually bigger problems, and they're not as easy as you think to get out of them. They're a lot more complex than what you might think, and you know, that's just, yeah, from someone that's been in a pretty dark place and looking from the inside, it's not as easy as snapping out of it like the traditional old school days. Like my dad's, for example, he's very old school, is traditional, like harden up, you'll be right, you'll kick on. But getting back to, you know, the question on the topic, these days is, like you said, it's good to go back and look where you actually are and find out what the problem actually is, and break it down and take the time to put it all together. I think
there's probably not one reason you can pinpoint to say why you got depression. I know no one wants depression. No one wants it. So everyone would love to be able to get rid of it straight away. But there's chemical imbalances. There's, you know, it's hereditary. There's emotional issues. There's a whole list of issues. Put them all in this cooking pot, and you can't really pinpoint one reason.
Yeah.
We're here with Casey and Sam from the LIVIN organisation. When we come back from the break, we're going to be talking about some strategies that we can employ that may be able to help you and save someone's life. Welcome back. We're with the guys from the LIVIN organisation. We've got Sam Webb and Casey Lyons, and of course my co-host here is Carly Madsen. Just before the break, I said I wanted to talk about some coping strategies, but I want to take a step back. Your goal really is to maybe educate young kids. But one question that I think we had a discussion around just before we came live was that there was a conversation around how young some people you've been getting calls from. So, Casey, what was yours?
Well, I've had, I think, 2 kids as young as 7. With suicidal ideologies, And that's a hard thing to grasp. A 7-year-old wanting to end their life, they're meant to be the happiest days of your life.
Yeah.
For us, I've done some research in regards to the subconscious mind and how we learn everything in our subconscious before the age of 8. So we'd love to introduce something, of course, age appropriate. I've seen a great movie recently, Inside Out, and that teaches the young kids how to, recognise and how to deal with emotions. So if we can sort of teach these kids before that age of 8, what these emotions are, and then to speak about them, hopefully it's ingrained in them and it's just second nature growing up. And adding in things sort of every year, age appropriate topics every year. It's just that hard. It's hard to find that balance between what's appropriate and what's not appropriate.
Yeah. 'Cause where can you start educating people what is the right age? It's a really fine line, where to talk about it and where not to.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's all, as Kay said, it's probably age appropriate, but like anything, you crawl before you walk and you walk before you run. And I think if we can get into the young age and teach, simple things, maybe for example, from a 7-year-old, coping, like basic coping strategies, emotional needs, how to control them, speak to someone, and buddy system sort of thing, and activities. Then as you're gradually growing up, then you'd slowly introduce and incorporate more topics that they'd understand. I think it all comes back to being able to understand, because it is a very complex topic. Like an 8-year-old, if you tell an 8-year-old someone's taken their life,
it's a lot to take in.
That's a hell of a lot to take in for an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to, submit young children into adult conversations like that. So I think your education program will be able to, give some great strategies for a child or for a parent of young children to say this is what happened around the certain situation. So let's talk about some coping strategies, or let's talk about some strategies. There is a person now who's watching this that is really, they're understanding you, they're getting you, they're on the precipice of thinking, I'm ready to check out. I'm at that point. I've stumbled across this video. I'm at that point. I want to check out. I've had enough of this this part of the world. I'm out next Monday. What do you say to that person?
Well, right now I'd say to that person, if they're directly watching right this very minute, I'd say to contact a professional health service because they're in a crisis situation. Because there is help. There is a lot of help out there, and you can, with the right help and the right strategies, you can get back onto living a perfectly normal life. And again, this is for someone that's watching, that they're not alone. But I think the most important thing is if someone's trying to confide in them, or if they're at home watching this and they're about to open up to their friend or family, I think it's most important to listen. And listen non-judgmentally, and I guess just be with them and find out why and what makes them comfortable and how they're feeling like.
Yeah, and I think anyone that's read the old book with Stephen Covey, and his book is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and one of the things, one of the habits he talks about is the empathy skills. Is to have empathy and have to be empathic. And one of the sayings in there, he says, is that you listen with the intent to understand and not to reply. So, but every person that you talk to has to be taken on an individual basis. Is that what you're saying? So you can't just give a strategy out there and say, right, here are the first 3 things that you need to do.
It's not a one-size-fits-all.
It's not going to work.
No, because one thing might work for all of us, or the person watching, but it might not work for the person next to them or their friend or family.
Well, I want to challenge you on something, Casey, if you can answer this for me, is that one of the things that Sam said, and I totally agree with you, is that you look down the barrel of the camera and you'll be able to say to that person, you're not alone.
Yeah.
What happens, though, is when you do say that, is that person then goes home to their sanctuary and they are alone and they don't feel like that they want to call you because now they're feeling like that they're going to be a burden on you, and you're getting on with your day and they've just checked out your Facebook page and you've just said, had a great time up in the Whitsundays, just done some snorkeling, chatted to a few schools about our program, and they're going, wow, all right for these boys, I'm alone. What do you say about that?
If someone reaches out to you, or if you reach out to someone, and you come up with a plan and you've got something in place, your word is your bond. If you make a promise to someone, you've got to, you got to back that up and you got to live with that. So if you're struggling and someone's promised to be there for you, call them. Doesn't matter if it's 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning.
Yep.
they've made you a promise, and they've got to uphold that promise.
So you're saying check in with that person on a regular basis, not just, mate, you're not alone. There's always people around you. Hey, you know, it's a great time to be alive. So don't minimise any of that. So you're saying that if you're going to say those words, you're not alone, then you've taken on that responsibility. Is that right? Or that person's taken on that responsibility. So make an effort to get on the phone and give them a call and say, hey, just checking in with you.
Yep.
What did you get up to today?
You got to follow it up with conviction.
Yeah,
right.
For sure.
You know, it's life or death, and I'm pretty sure. You know, let's just say the terrible thing happens with someone dying.
Yeah.
Hindsight, that person will be saying, you know, I would have been there for him. I would have done this. So just do it. Just be there for them.
Do it while you can.
Just listen.
Even
you don't
if
have to say anything. Just listen.
Yeah, exactly. I think, you know, taking away from the creation of LIVIN and my story and the circumstances, you know, on the night that I was with Dwayne, I think listening is the most powerful thing you could possibly do. But
you took the effort. This is what amazes me, is that you actually took the effort to listen. Because some people just listen, and they do the old obligatory, you know, active listening, is nod their head and, oh, yeah, I see where you're coming from. But this was a party that you were at. You were probably, you know, had a few ales, and you went upstairs, you had your mate there, and you listened to him, and you did something about it. And are you saying that sometimes what people do is that they just listen for the sake of listening, but just don't do anything about it, and they just brush it off and say, you'll be right in the morning?
It's a tough one, you know. And I'm sure there is people out there that do that. But, you know, back to how Casey answered the question, I think that the follow-ups and the convictions, if you're going to tell someone you're there for them, or you can ring me at 3 or 4 in the morning, make sure you're there at 3 or 4 in the morning to answer the call. Because that call could be the difference between a life or death situation for someone that is in a crisis situation. And if someone doesn't understand the situation, they don't know how serious this is, or there's a lot of people out there that think, oh, he's probably just saying that for attention, or he's just saying this, or she's just saying that because they're just saying that. But not a lot of people take that serious. You know, from starting LIVIN where we are now, I take everything that I hear, even a grain of salt, as serious as possible, because you don't know. There's so many contributing factors.
I think I've got to add into, if you are looking after someone, looking after yourself is probably the #1 priority as well. You can't help someone unless you look after yourself first.
Good.
Yeah.
And that, I mean that you've really got to look after yourself as well.
Something I was going to ask. I mean, if there's someone that's watching that, you know, you say that people that are depressed or anxious or whatever it is that's making them feel suicidal, become masters of masking their emotions. I mean, there's been a lot of times that people have taken their life and everyone is so shocked they didn't see it coming. I mean, what would you suggest be the first step? I mean, they might feel that if they open up to someone, they're going to judge them. What would be your suggestion to them as their first step to open up to someone?
Speak to someone they trust, like someone that's in a very vulnerable state, and they're scared, or they're intimidated, or they're lacking confidence, and they're worried about feeling like that. Look, we've lost a lot of people in our life, and Dwayne was one of the guys that was just the life of any party. From someone looking in, it wouldn't have known what he'd been through. Be like, there's no way, you know. But yeah, looking back and on that story and hearing multiple stories, I think asking the question and reaching out for help, as much as you think it's going to hurt, and you think, like for people watching this, if you think you're going to be judged, or you think, you know, you're going to be looked down upon, or you're weak, you're not. You're actually stronger doing it, because by you directly speaking to someone and sharing your story and how you're feeling, you're actually saving someone else's life, and that story is more powerful than you think. Yeah,
I think the more you hold the problem into, the bigger it becomes. Like this glass of water here, we can hold above our head, and at the start it's quite easy. Yeah. Hold it there for an hour or two, it's not quite easy. And your problems or whatever you're going through is the same. Yeah. Might start small, you keep it inside, it just becomes so big, it's got to find a way
Great
out.
Analogy. That's a great analogy. Yeah, it's easy to pick up. We can hold it like this for, you know, a few minutes, but after a while, an hour. Okay. But yeah, after a while, it's going to be heavy, isn't it?
There's a breaking point.
There is a breaking point with everything. I wanted to ask this. I've always wanted to ask this. It may be a little bit controversial, but I need your help with this. Do Do you think there's anything wrong with a person just wanting to end their life? They just want to check out. They just get to a stage where they just go, career, health, well-being, mates, relationships, finances, nothing's working out for me. I just don't want to be here anymore. I just want to check out. See you later.
It's a very, very hard question.
It's a very good question. I think from just straight off the bat, you know, I think one, it's like a really good question because we haven't really been asked this under these sort of circumstances before. But for someone to be in that situation, to want to check out of living, living's all about, and what we do is all about living your life.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to promote. So for someone to not want to be in life and live life, obviously they're not happy, or things might not be working for them. So we'd always, again, recommend professional help. If you're ready to check out and you're in a crisis situation, it's a crisis mode. You can get help. There is a lot of help out there. Lifeline's 131114. Speak to someone. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that case?
I think people need to understand that a suicidal person is in a dark place, a place that, you know, 95% or 90% of us don't go in our lifetime. They're not thinking rationally. And is there anything wrong with it? There's something wrong with it in the fact that, you know, that can be reversed. We can reverse it, and we can bring hope into that darkness. Yeah. You just got to start that conversation. If you know of someone that's in this position, you got to ask a direct question: are you suicidal? Do you have a plan? Things like this can really open up those conversations.
I love that. I love that. That's somebody now comes to you and says, I'm in a really dark place here. I don't know where my future is going to be. I think I'm ready to check out. So you're saying, just ask the question, what's your plan? How are you going to do this? Where are you going to do it? Yeah. You know, so the purpose of that is really so you've got a bit of an understanding, well, they're going to be at this cliff face, or they're going to be at, you know, at this park.
Or what's going through their mind, like a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it gives them a chance to say it out loud, and when they actually hear it themselves, it's sort of...
It hits home. It is. It is. And there's the old myth that goes around saying if you ask someone, are you suicidal, it could potentially bring on suicidal things. But it actually is the complete opposite. It's a proven statistic that asking someone, are they suicidal, where are they looking to take their life, have they got any methods in place, all these things are actually a chance for them to actually open up and see, wow, you know, and have that discussion, which could be the first discussion.
That could be the first step,
to the change.
isn't it? Absolutely.
It could be the turning point to saving your life.
I think they're in a very desperate state too. And human nature, you want to be helped, you want to be healthy, and you want to be happy. So I think their survival instincts kick in subconsciously. So they really are asking for help without asking for help. Yeah. And that's why we want to bring these education. You know, people don't understand, they don't see the signs, and that's where we want to help.
It's a very, and I want to jump in here because I've been speaking with a fellow from the US, his name's Kevin Hines. He was one of 19 survivors that jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge in 2000. I think now there's been 35, so it's got quite a high strike rate for people taking their lives. And a thing that stuck with me from his story when he shared with me, and something that I'll forever hold on to and promote as best as I possibly can, is, you know, he was walking down the bridge on San Francisco, and all he wanted was someone to say, are you okay? Can I help you? What is wrong? What is wrong? Yeah. You know, and a Chinese girl, he said, stopped him right before the bridge and said, excuse me, sir, could you take a picture? He took the picture, he was bawling his eyes out. She didn't even ask anything. He kept walking and he jumped off the bridge. He said the first thing that he did when his hands left the railing, he regretted it. He didn't want to die. And that's what, to this day, haunts me for everyone that I've known that's taken their life. And it's a very impulsive decision. They're in a very desperate situation to end the pain. They don't see
the bigger picture.
They don't see the people from the outside looking in. They don't even cross their mind. Your loved ones, your family. Like as I said, I've been in a pretty bad place myself numerous times, and things like that really don't come into play. And he said the moment he left his hands off that rail, you know, it was a moment of regret. He didn't want to die.
It's amazing you say that because, you know, we've all done stupid things in our life, haven't we? You know, but we wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
And
why do we do that?
Yeah, we go, what the hell? I'm not going to be doing that anymore. But this is, yeah, as you said, this is probably 99.9% irreversible.
Yeah.
And
I think alcohol, we can bring alcohol into that. Alcohol is a drug that takes your inhibitions away. We do things when we're drunk that we wake up to regret.
All the time.
You know, you do them, your inhibitions are gone, like guys get into fights, there's, you know, you do silly things. Suicide is one thing we can't wake up to regret.
And I mean, one of the biggest things too, I think maybe more with men than women, or women just the same, is when someone's upset, they go, come have a drink. You know, like, let's go out, we'll all get drunk, it'll be a messy night, it'll be fun, and you'll wake up and you'll be happy tomorrow because we've had a good night. And it's, I mean, like you said, it's probably not the best thing for someone who's in that state of mind.
You can compound it. Yeah, they might have a good time, but the next day when, you know...
It's a depressant, drink.
Yeah.
Depressant, for example.
Feel worse when they wake up
Yeah,
in
and
the morning.
it's something that, it's almost like a Band-Aid. You know, for someone that's struggling, they generally do turn to alcohol or drugs.
Yeah.
Because it's a way of hiding the problem for a short period of time, but it makes the problem bigger.
Yeah.
It creeps up on them, you know. And for someone that's under the influence of drugs or alcohol in a time of vulnerability, it's
only going to make
it makes it worse.
Casey, I noticed when Sam was telling that story, you got a bit emotional there.
Oh. He was my best friend. Perfect world. Perfect world, we would have been old together.
So it must really piss you off. Does it get you, like, we know the stages of grief. First there's shock, and then there's denial, and then there's anger. Do you get to the anger stage? Like, do you get to that and you go, you know, we should have just talked? Or do you punch through that and you go, right, what are we going to do now? And this is why LIVIN has been created. Is what are we going to do today that's going to stop this? And you don't want to save 2 million people, do you, at a time?
We've got to save, our goal when we started was to save one life.
Save one.
I think we've got to fight a negative with a positive.
Yeah.
Like, you can't fight fire. Well, you fight fire with fire, but also water. And we've got to bring positive, we've got to bring hope into where there's darkness. And really just give people, you know, something that they've been missing. And get them living again.
Okay.
Definitely living again. And I think, you know, from our side of things and from the people that we've known that have passed away, I'm not saying this relates to everyone, but, you know, it's not so much that they didn't want to end their life and not be around. They wanted to be around. You know, they wanted to be a part of life. They wanted to be a part of this and be around. But it's that instant pain that they want to just cancel out. That's what they want to check out of. It's the pain, and it's anything less than that. You know,
They
it's
want
the
it to
pain.
end
It's
now,
the
like-
pain. The pain
It's
that
the pain.
becomes so unbearable that it clouds the best of everything in your life, even anything.
I think people think that they become a burden because they're in this dark hole, and you know they're never happy that they're a burden on their friends and their family, and they don't want to hinder them anymore. If I wasn't here, they'd have a better life. That's the mentality, or that's the dark hole that they're in. Whereas it's the opposite. We love them, we want them here, and we'd do anything to keep them here.
Yeah. There's people out there that care, and you know, if you're at home watching this, you know, don't ever make an impulsive decision based on a problem, no matter how big or small it is. You know, there's people out there that definitely care, and take the first step and open up and at least speak to someone how you feel.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to let you know how you can help. Hey everyone, welcome back. As you know, we're here with the guys from the LIVIN organisation. Sam, again, thank you so much for today.
No, thank you.
Casey, amazing stories that you've been telling me, and my co-host here, Carly. What's with the shirts?
One of LIVIN's, when Casey and I started LIVIN in 2013, it was automatic that we were doing fashion.
Yeah.
Casey will go and explain that side of the story in a minute. But you know, it's a great way to market a cause that's directly put in the spotlight, so people can start opening up and creating or starting conversation that wasn't once there before. It's an innovative way to not only market but to spread a message organically throughout communities and help spread a message that, you know, young people can relate to, and they can help spread the message through their friends and family too. So we use fashion.
I love the name. How'd you come up with the name?
I mentioned earlier, Dwayne was a special man. He had this ability to make people around him feel better, and one of his favourite sayings was, you know, I'm living, or we're living, and you know, he'd do it with a cheeky little smile on his face, and you know, he'd do certain things, and you'd be like, what are you doing, man? He's like, just living. So, you know, living was, you know, and it's what we want to get people doing. We want to get people living again. After Dwayne's passing, a lot of people came from a lot of different areas, and you know, a lot of drinking was sort of going on, catching up and mourning, and I was a bit over it one night, and I walked inside and I picked up a magazine that was on the table, and there was a story, and I'm sort of talking loosely here, of a guy in Melbourne, and I think from memory he owned his house in a cafe, and the cafe wasn't going so well, so he had to sell his house and live in the cafe. And when he started going well again, he created a sleepwear company called One Night Stand and donated all the profits back to homeless people. So it was like a little light bulb moment. I thought, bang, we're doing clothes, we'll donate back to a charity, and then natural evolution, we became a charity. And for us, it's great. Dwayne loved fashion, loved clothes, and it ties us back to that. It's free advertising or free awareness. When someone's wearing a shirt and they see someone else wearing a shirt, they sort of give each other this little nod, and they understand. And you know, it's just about breaking down those barriers in a different way.
And it's making people feel comfortable. You know, it's as I said, it's a very dark, touchy subject as it is. I think this just reinforces the message that it ain't weak to speak. And that we're trying really, really hard to reduce the stigma, and I think fashion is going to go a long way to breaking those barriers.
And people come to you with your stories, don't they?
All the time.
Well, it gives people a sense of pride too. They're wearing this, I'm sticking up, I'm helping fight the stigma of mental health. And it gives them that sense of pride, and then they feel as though, well, they are doing something. Then they don't have to feel it, because they are doing something.
And the arrow up?
Dwayne, he would always be saying in his cheeky little smile, we're going to the top tonight, we're going to have a good time. The top was a place that...
Yeah, Dwayne and I always used to say, we're going to the top, man, let's have a great life. And the top could be anywhere. You could just be at the movies one night, or you could be going out one night, and you could be really good at your job. We're going to the top. It's the best place you want to be in your life. And it just stuck, and the arrow and living stuck. And Case, you know, it wasn't about wanting to do something. We always wanted to do it, but it was almost like we felt like we needed to do something because there were so many people that this affected. It never crossed our minds that it wasn't something we were going to do.
If roles were reversed, and let's say, for example, it was me that was gone, he would have done the same. No doubt. And in his fashion, he would have done it better. Would have done it bigger and better, but...
Sorry, I
was going to say, and you explain it, you know, like a family. You said when someone's wearing it, people recognise that they're wearing the shirt, you know, give them a nod kind of thing. And you explain that you have 24-hour events that come together. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah. We have various 24-hour events that go on around Australia. One of our more successful ones, which has just been an amazing vibe, which I'll get Case to explain the vibe of the events in a second, but it's in Townsville, for example, and you know, it's like a community. Everyone comes together, and whether they wear our stuff or not, when we get people to these events, they're coming from all walks of life. And the stigma, the barrier to mental illness, and that discussion and that validation, it's all automatically broken down. So they're entering a very safe environment for people to feel comfortable and open. And we're all swimming in the same sea as such, and we're all talking the same language. So we're all part of a team, and we're all part of the family, and that's, I think, what is driving LIVIN to the growth of its right now, is everyone feels like they're part of what we do, and that's exactly what we want it to be.
This event, we had 600-700 people on top of Castle Hill. If you've been to Castle Hill, it's sort of a small space on top of that mountain when there's 700 people. And it was like one big group therapy session for 24 hours, and the feeling, or there was like this aura, I could never explain it, but it was an amazing high.
The positive.
You walked away, you were tired, you'd been walking up and down this mountain for 24 hours, but you walked away feeling on the top. Amazing. It was. So we encourage people to come to these events. It is an up and down roller coaster, which we feel mimics or mirrors, you know, your battle with mental health. And one of our great philosophies is healthy living. So yeah, exercising through it. You're with a team. So it's a lot of our philosophies all sort of tied into one.
Yeah.
Talking, exercising. And yeah, it's amazing.
And it's the thing that I always think about is that, you know, we spend a lot of money on anti-smoking campaigns. We spend a lot of money on, you know, the drink driving. Spend a lot of money on slow down your driving. You're driving with fatigue. There's not a lot of money in this. No one's coming to you and giving you $100 million and saying, let's keep the organisation going. So I think it's time for a challenge. You know, I think for the cost of a, you know, that's less than a meal, everyone can get themselves a T-shirt and a cap. And the challenge I think that should happen is to keep this going so that you can speak at every school, every organisation, everywhere that gets the message out there. So if we think about any of the multinational organisations and you think of one employer that may have something like 4,000 or 5,000 staff, I would love to see, you know, a one day or a week of where every person on the Gold Coast within Australia has a shirt that we're just saying, this is our support and this is what we're going to give back to you. So the challenge is out there. I think that, you know, what a great goal that would be is to see amazing. These shirts, and I'd like a black one, thank you. No, but I think we should get these shirts out there so that we can raise that awareness again and stop the stigma that's around this, hey, let's just sweep this under the carpet.
And I mean, you've seen it being done with the way that people think about smoking these days. I mean, back probably when you were younger, like my granddad was prescribed cigarettes when he got back from the war. With the money behind them, they change people's mindset around smoking, and these days people know that you shouldn't smoke, kind of thing. It's the same. I mean, if a bit of money and we can teach and educate people about mental health and suicide prevention, we can change it.
And in a perfect world, you know, we wouldn't. In a perfect world, Casey and I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be discussing this topic because mental health and suicide wouldn't exist. But unfortunately, it does, and it does require resources and a hell of a lot of time. And you know, we're very passionate about what we do, and I think, you know, with the right level of support and the right people on board, you know, we can keep pushing our message to the forefront, and we can make a change.
Well, I couldn't find two more dedicated, committed people that are worthy to be taking this this message right around the world. And any last thoughts? Last messages?
Let's all start living. Let's keep living. Let's start living if we're not living, and let's reach out and talk to people. As long as you're talking, you're never alone.
It ain't weak to speak.
It ain't weak to speak. I think we just need to, and we can apply this to sort of every way of life. Let's start being proactive rather than reactive. And take that into anything in life. But definitely in this, what we've talked about today, let's be proactive rather than reactive. And it ain't weak to speak. Yeah, we're going to put all the details on the screen. We would love for you to share this video with as many people as you can, and let's get the message out there. Let's not just sit here and watch this video and say, yeah, what a great little story this is. Flick it off to your mate, flick it off to the next person, and flick it off to anyone that you know, because we want this message to get out there. And we do thank you for watching this great episode here on the Point TV. And I need to thank you, Sam, for a great conversation, opening this up. And Casey also the same sort of thing.
And thank you.
Thank you very much.
Ain't weak to speak.